Hello and welcome to the second episode of Frax 101. In this video, we're going to be covering FraxSwap. FraxSwap is AMM and TWAMM that Frax has used and developed to gather liquidity for its own products and pairs. So we're going to go through this entire page. I'm going to show you how you can use it, and I'm going to explain the TWAMM system at the end. Okay, so here we are. This is the FraxSwap. It's located on the left-hand side in the menu that you can find over here. FraxSwap, when it comes, it will ask you to connect to your wallet. You can see here that I've connected to my wallet using MetaMask, and I can show you. So if you haven't connected, it will have this Connect Wallet button. You can press Connect, and then you can choose your available wallets. So I've connected. And now that I've connected, I can do a couple of things. The first thing that I'm going to look at is either swap or pool up here at the top. Swap allows you to trade assets back and forth, like Frax or Frax shares. It's a simple swap function. Pool is going to be adding liquidity for different pairs. Let's start with the swap page. So on the swap page, you're going to see this box. There's a lot of information here, actually, much more than you would see on a Uniswap. But at the end of the day, it works very much like Uniswap in that it has close to the same design. So inside of FraxSwap, there's two things that you can choose from. There's an AMM and a TWAMM. An AMM is a automated market maker. A TWAM is a time-weighted average market maker. Let's start with AMM first. This is the AMM page. Once you choose to perform a basic swap, the next thing to do will be to choose what kind of assets you want to swap. If your wallet is connected, you can choose on either of these boxes to bring up a new menu that has all the different assets that are provided as liquidity inside the Frax protocol. So I already have Frax selected. So in this case, I'm going to choose ETH, which I have 0.46 or 0.45 in my wallet. Now, after I've selected ETH, a couple of things come up. I have the total amount of ETH that's in my wallet over here, which is 0.4556. I also then have the Frax down here, and this is a 0. All this means for max is just how much I can buy. So in this case, if I click the ETH button, I'm able to swap a maximum of 0.4556 ETH for $682 worth of Frax. Right below this page is the multi-hop. This shows that how the transaction is going to be completed. It just changed back to a non-multi-hop. It changed to multi-hop. So let's do multi-hop now. So now it's going to be two trades, right? It's going to swap from ETH to WETH and then WETH to Frax. That will be the way that it swaps. And you can see it'll trade 0.456 ETH or 0.455 ETH to 0.455 WETH, which you don't lose anything there. And then it will trade that WETH for Frax in the FraxSwap AMM V2 pool. And so we can see the entire trade here. This is a little bit buggy because the ETH is going through the WETH. Sometimes it may go back and I might get a better price. But let's go back down. Let's say I want to buy $10 worth of Frax. So now that is going to require 0.006676 ETH. And I'm going to get back I wanted 10. Okay. It's going to change. So the market is always changing here. And so sometimes the prices are going to change. I can see that the swap fee for this trade is going to be 0.30. And the slippage is also going to be 0.30. The swap fee is how much the market maker, in this case, charges for this swap. The slippage is how much slippage you're going to allow on this trade. Essentially, think of it like this. When you go to make a trade, you put your trade out there, and then a lot of people can see it. And what you're saying is you're codifying it into a rule to say that the price can go up 0.3% before the trade just doesn't work anymore. And you can control your slippage here. So I can say I want a max slippage of 0.1 or maybe 0.2 or 0.3. So let's just keep it at 0.1. and then we can go back. But you really don't have to change that. You can keep it at 0.1 or 0.2 or 0.3, depending on the trade that you're making. It's up to you. So I'm going to use my WETH to buy some Frax. And there's a little bug in here right now, which is changing the UI, but I believe it's fixed itself. And so when I press swap this time, the MetaMask thing is going to pop up. I'm going to get something saying that gas is quite high, and it is quite high. It's $22. It's a lot, but we're going to pay it. Pay $22 to buy $10 worth of Frax. Boom. There we go. Now we have processing the multi-hop. We can watch it on Etherscan. I always like watching on Etherscan because it shows you what's happening. You can see that the confirmation time is less than 45 seconds. And you can also go to gas tracker as well too. And I think gas is going up quite high. It's at 60 now. So before it was at 40 and now it's at 60. But let's see if our transaction goes through. All right. Okay, so we swapped $10 worth of WETH for $10 worth of Frax. We should now be able to see. I think it auto updates right now. So let's refresh. And we can see we have $10 worth of Frax and no WETH anymore. There's also some information over here on this side about the Frax sell rate. This has more to do with the TWAMM. Also the AMM reserves. So in this WETH and Frax pool, you have 1.6 million Frax and 1,127 WETH. The TWAMM is got 27,000 Frax and 1.6 WETH at the moment. So yeah, so that's how you make a trade. So you can use FraxSwap to come and buy and sell. The other thing that you can use is a TWAMM order. So a TWAMM order takes my WETH and then sells it for Frax, whatever. Takes one token, sells it for another token. But it does it in a way which is using a special kind of order. So if I'm like Jack Dorsey or Michael Saylor or like anybody who has a lot of money, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of money, and I want to go out and buy like ETH or Bitcoin or really anything, it doesn't really matter. I'm not just going to fire up an order. Right? I'm not going to come to DeFi Llama and say, just buy $100 million worth of USDC in one order. I'm going to lose about $5 million on that trade. Look at that, 95 million. It's not that great, especially even as you get into like bigger sizes. I've got $1 billion. Look at this. If I tried to execute $1 billion order for USDC to ETH right now, the best that the aggregators are showing me is through 1 inch, where I'd get 429 million back. So that's like 60% slippage there. That's really bad. Even CowSwap is showing like pretty bad execution there. So 100 million is getting up toward the high end of where slippage can be. Like 10 million, 9.9. But as soon as you go up another level to those bigger numbers, and a lot of people have those bigger numbers. So instead of executing that order all at once, you can use something which is called a TWAP order. I'm going to come over to my whiteboard and we're going to go back here. So a TWAP order is a time-weighted average price order. And TWAP order, so instead of making one order where you just swap $100 million worth of USDC into $100 million worth of ETH minus fees, this time what you're going to do is you're going to swap a little bit at the beginning. And I'm going to do this. And then at these like predetermined times, you're just going to swap a little bit more. And you're just going to take little chunks and you're just going to swap. You're just going to keep on swapping all the way through. And maybe you're selling like 1,000 USDC, right? 1,000 a minute or every second or something. It doesn't really matter. Main thing is if you've got a predetermined timeline, so maybe 30 days or like a week or something, but you just chop it up, chop. And then at the end, your order execution price should be very, very close to whatever the average price for that asset was over the time period, because you're just selling little chunks at a time and not doing a big order all at once. And so there should be almost like no slippage in your order, and you should get the average price over whatever period of time, an hour or a day or like a week or a month or a year or something like that. Typically I think you could probably do $1 billion order maybe 2 weeks. It seems a reasonable amount of time to break this order up. So the time-weighted average price order, you're just taking a big order and then chunking it up into a lot of smaller orders. But you can only do this on a centralized exchange. You have to go to like a Coinbase or Binance or an OKX to be able to use these. And you haven't been able to do them in DeFi up until recently. And the reason that it is for DeFi, in Uniswap, you have two invariants, right? You have like X and Y, and they should come up with K. So essentially what it means is that for Uniswap, you have 50% on one side and 50% on the other. And it's always going to equal, you put the 50% together, it's going to equal 2x or 2 of whatever the value is. So in this case, like if the ETH price is 100 and the USD price is 1, then if there's 1 ETH in the AMM, then you should have $1,000 of USDC on one side. And when people buy and sell into that Uniswap contract, they're essentially just like adding more assets into that contract. So if I come along and I like buy $10 worth of USDC, what's happening is that $10 of USDC goes into the contract, and now it rebalances where it says, and it takes a little bit of ETH out. So it takes 0.01 ETH out, and now I have 0.99 ETH with $1,010. And so the price rebalances. Now we can say that 0.99 ETH and $1,010 over here, you can throw that together and you can find a new price of what ETH is. And so that's how AMMs work. But they don't really have this like TWAP order thing built into them where you could execute lots of orders. I mean, you can, but it's going to cost you a lot of gas. So think about executing a Uniswap order like the one that I just did that cost $22 over a million times over the course of 2 weeks. Like it would just be way too expensive, and you don't want to pay that, especially for how much gas it's going to cost. And sometimes when gas spikes, maybe gas is like 50 now, but gas could go like 100 or 500, and then you're paying huge amounts, and you don't want to do that. There was a paper that came out in 2021, pretty seminal, by Dave White, Dan Robinson, and Hayden Adams, the founder of Uniswap. And it was called TWAMM, put out by Paradigm. And it introduces this idea of the time-weighted average market maker. Okay, so it talks about TWAP orders and everything here. So it introduces the idea of the time-weighted average market maker. And this is a very good read. I would suggest you go read it. It's going to be in the link below. And I'm just going to break it down for you. Okay. Time-weighted average market maker. So it has the on-chain equivalent of being a TWAP order. And what it does to do this is it introduces specialized logic for order splitting into the AMM itself. So it requires a completely new type of AMM LP, which Frax developed in conjunction with Paradigm, and they deployed it and it works. So now you can come to FrxSwap and you can use the T to say, okay, hey, I want to buy 100, or I have 100,000 ETH and I want to buy some Frax. And this would actually get really high slippage. So if we go back to the AMM, that slippage is going to be greater than 10%. It's pretty big. But with the TWAMM, what we can say is that the TWAMM, let me just take this down. I think there's limit on the TWAMM. Okay, let's go Frax shares. Frax to Frax shares. Okay, because there's a lot of Frax here. So let's say we want to do a $1 million order into Frax shares. Frax to Frax shares. So what's going to happen is you choose how much you want to put in. So this is what, 10 million? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is $1 million. And it's going to go out and buy some Frax shares. Maybe it's 10 million. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. No, it is $1 million. So $1 million Frax into Frax shares. Then you're going to set your buy period, and the buy period is hours. So you can go all the way from 1 hour to 4 years, 36 months, 15 days. Right now, that's 3 years. It's like 3 years and 15 days. And that's great. So you can choose the amount of time that you want to execute this order. So you can say, okay, I want to use 1 month. So I want to execute this trade at 1 month, 2 hours. Oops. 1 month, bring back down. 1 month, 6 days, 5 hours. That's how long I want this trade to go. 869 hours. So you then line that up and you fire it off. You approve the Frax, and then you fire the order up. And what this does is it creates what's known as a long-term order, which is placed in the TWAMM. Okay. And what this long-term order does is it takes the order and it breaks it up into infinitely many, infinitely small virtual suborders. Okay. So it's not a block by block thing. It's a infinitely small virtual suborder. Okay. So what it's going to do is once you place those long-term orders, it's either going to push the price in the TWAMM up or down. So let me just come back to the AMM. So if you have an AMM, it just stays at whatever the two invariants are. So coming back here, if nobody ever trades with this ETH price and this USD price, the pool just stays the same. Nobody's going to touch it. It requires somebody to come along and make the trade. So either I have to come and I have to buy, or there has to be like an arbitrager who's arbitraging with like somewhere else who then comes. What the time-weighted average market maker does, this is a really interesting part of it, is it takes the AMM and then it pushes virtual price up, or it pushes it down, depending on either if you're selling or if you're buying whatever asset. So if I'm swapping Frax into Frax shares, it'll push the price, should push the virtual price like up, and then people can sell into that, like an arbitrager could sell into that order on a whenever they want. So it pushes the price in one direction virtually, and then arbitragers can come and then fill it, and that represents the TWAMM getting filled. Okay, so the arbitragers keep the price in line with market prices. These virtual prices just push the price up, or if they push the price down. So let's say you have Frax and you want to buy Frax share, it keeps pushing the virtual price up until somebody comes along and sells into you. And you can see something like that here in the chart where it virtualizes the price. So you have this nice smooth line over the time. And then arbitragers are just like trading smaller pieces in that up on top so that you can get the best order execution possible. So again, the TWAMM breaks the orders into these infinitely many, infinitely small virtual suborders, which then are traded against as time goes on. The arbitrager that comes still has to pay the gas, but you, as the person who puts your money in there, you just have one gas transaction. And this can all be determined mathematically using some formulas that they put into the paper. Now, what's cool about these long-term orders is that you can pull them at any point. So let's say you put in your $100 million to buy ETH. All of a sudden, the price jumps up a ton. Well, you can pull your order back. You don't have to buy it at that higher price. You can just buy it at the price that you want to. And as long as it's in the average place that you like, you can keep on buying. And so that's really cool, right? So you can create a TWAMM order for like Frax to whatever see Frax to own, Frax to ETH. Let's see if there's some Frax to ETH stuff. Maybe, we'll see. But yeah, this is just what's enabled through the TWAMM, are these like long-term orders where anybody can buy or sell, and that it allows you to just come in and build a big position. I wonder if there's like an FPIS purchase. Okay, so somebody's selling 26 FPIS per hour to get the best rate, which is pretty cool. So that's going to wrap it up for the AMM and the TWAP. The last part of FrxSwap is going to be the liquidity portion. Like I was talking about before, the Uniswap style formula requires that you put in two assets in equal value to each other into the pool. And we're going to do that here in a second. So now, let's see, I have Frax and I have ETH. Okay. So if I wanted to add liquidity, Frax and ETH liquidity, we would come here and you want to click on here, and then it should calculate. Oh, it's new pool fee. Okay, so there is no pool here. I need WETH again. Okay. I don't have any WETH, but we can swap back into WETH again. Essentially, like, you have your Frax and you have your WETH. You can choose the pool fee. Well, this one's already selected since the pool's been created. And then to add, you'll just approve the Frax, approve the WETH, and then it gets sent off, and you'll like push your liquidity in. So let me go actually swap to some more WETH. So ETH to WETH. Let's do it 0.1, just, or wait, 0.01, just so we have enough. Right, it doesn't have it in. Let me use the, I thought I used the, oh, I must still be on the TWAMM. Okay. So I'm going to choose ETH and I'm going to swap into WETH. I'm going to do 0.01. And it's not still in the TWAMM. That's strange. Okay. Now I'm back. That's buggy. You can solve a lot of these issues just by using the DeFi Llama aggregator. It actually aggregates all of the Frax stuff in here. So if you want to swap from like FPIS Frax into Frax shares, it actually uses FraxSwap to do it. It like aggregates the aggregators, which is pretty cool. But coming back here, let's swap this ETH to WETH. So we're going to choose this. We're going to swap to WETH. Yep. And then we're going to go back to the pool. And now I have enough. I should have enough. This is going to process. And don't want Frax shares. I want WETH. Let's view this because the gas is a little pricey right now. Okay, now it's done. This one doesn't have a refresh button, so we'll refresh the page. And now I can click on the Frax here for max. Okay, so I'm putting 10 Frax and 0.007 WETH into this contract. I need to approve the Frax, which I'll do. I'm going to approve this. That should let the contract use it. We can watch it again, where it will take probably 15 to 45 seconds to make this trade. Sometimes it goes faster, sometimes it goes slower. It really just depends on your gas that you use and whether the gas is going up or down. Okay, now it's done. And now we can supply. So when we put it in here, this tells me the price, Frax per WETH and WETH per Frax, and then it also tells me the share of the pool. So I will be, once I put this in here, I'm 0.000623 share of the pool. So let's add it. Is there some slippage stuff going on? Maybe it's because I have way too many numbers here. Let's just do a nice round set of numbers. Let's supply. Okay, now we're good. Okay, let's add this. I'm going to supply this liquidity. I'm going to watch this last transaction. Going to the router, and then we can take a look at my wallet, and we'll be able to see those tokens in there. Okay, look, so it's done. I sent the Frax and I sent wrapped Ether to the contract, which is this one, the Frax Finance router. And it sent me back, it created this LP token, and it sent me back this LP token. So now, when I look down here, I can see that I have a Frax and WETH LP position for 0.26. It's version 2. And now I can either add or modify. So I can add, or I can modify. I think modify is like remove. Okay, interesting. That's an interesting way to have liquidity be removed. To have to come down here because the add button goes away. Must be another bug. So that is what it is. In this video, I've showed you what FrxSwap is, how to use the AMM, how to use the TWAMM, and also how to add liquidity to the FrxSwap liquidity pool. I hope you found this enjoyable. If you have any questions about how to use FrxSwap, please come to the Flywheel DeFi Telegram channel, or you can connect with us on Twitter at Flywheel DeFi. I'm Samuel McCullough. I'm the producer for Flywheel DeFi, and I will see you in the next Frax 101. Peace.